Okay, so this is going to be a little bit out of the ordinary for most any video I've ever done. This is my first over-the-table experiment, and I just wanted to show you some things from my past here. Check this out. This is old artwork from my computer. This is a DOS computer. I think we got it back in 93, 4, 5, maybe somewhere around there. Anyway, I mean, these were all done with not just a mouse. I can't stress enough that this was so far from being done with a pen and tablet screen. This wasn't just a mouse. This was a mouse that barely worked. I mean, not one of those back in the early 90s that barely worked. One of those like early 90s that like really barely worked. It was built like a tank, so it would never completely stop working, so that you could justify getting a new one, which would have been, I mean, seriously much better. But regardless, I used this program in this old DOS computer called Draw or Drawing or something. I don't remember what it was called. But check it out. You got my yin yang. That was a classic 90s interest there. The other thing, I don't know what I was thinking here. The Daily Gummy, some sort of newspaper, I suppose. Kind of reminds me of Gumby, a little bit different attire, I suppose. Interview with Gummy. Well, I like soup, and how many expressions? I hate blocks and salt. I have contact lenses. They make me itch my eyeball. They say I have a friend named Doki. He's a horse. Yeah, definitely based on Pokey and Gumby. Okay, well, anyway, how neat, right? Ooh, furthermore, check this one out. This is kind of fun. This was a Calvin and Hobbes style snow goon. You remember the snow goons from Calvin and Hobbes? Multiple heads right here. This is the back view. Do you like how I did this? I mean, I must have been, I don't know, 8 maybe or 9 when I first got this computer. It wasn't mine, it was a family computer. There wasn't a whole lot you could do with it. I think it was occasionally attached to the internet in some way, shape, or form. But I do this like magnifying glass zoom in, something I had done a long time before that with a drawing about the planets and stuff when I went to a Catholic school in 2nd grade. But here I'm doing it again digitally. Describing different things, stockpile snowballs, and right here, little holes for me and probably my friend that I grew up with, Louis, looking out the hole there to see if anyone's coming that we can hide from. And check this out. Lots of interest. It's so funny about me and my interest in video games. This is from Uniracers. Obviously, great printer this is printed with, and you like how all these pages are connected. This is the way life was back in the early 90s. Very interesting. But yeah, I copied this from an image I had seen or something from probably like the Nintendo Power magazine. But again, like I was saying, what was so funny about it was the fact that I actually didn't own or even play that many video games. I remember watching a lot of friends play video games, and it was a big deal when I finally got my first console and that sort of thing. But yeah, I definitely had an affinity for the game systems of the 90s. So this is interesting. I wish this was in color, and perhaps it exists somewhere in my old giant heavy computer. That original DOS one, I actually still have it. It's in my closet right over there, and one of these days I'm going to try to get someone to boot it up for me. Yes, boot. But this was a Cyber Farm. It was a video game that I had dreamed up one time back in the mid-90s. Lots of interesting little details. The one that I remember the most was that you were playing like a sheepdog of some sort that was taking care of chickens instead of sheep. And the chickens were always getting into trouble. For example, right here, you can see them out near the farm going off into the ocean, frozen in little ice blocks like glaciers. Like they'd gotten in trouble to the point where they were frozen and drifting off somewhere. There were underwater things. There were the chickens in the cage. There was a what would have been like a normal like field that the farmers would plow in, but it's full of actual hand grenades, not like landmines. and various other scenes. But Cyber Farm, fun stuff. Again, with my interest in video games, Mega Man X. I don't know if you can barely see that. It's probably kind of difficult to see. But yeah, another one. I think this is from a video game. I don't remember what it was called, but I was always copying because that's where I could, source all of the exact information here. And as you can see here, this is a good example of how the drawing program actually worked. It shows there are balls on balls here, right? You notice there's a ball in front of this elbow ball right here, right? I had to order it in such a way that it would work like that, because you had to only draw on top, if I remember that correctly. But I do remember this one thing correctly, which I'm insanely proud about, and I always talk about this. I think it really doesn't mean anything to anyone. It certainly doesn't mean anything to my career right now, but I think it's a fun background story that this program would, every time you upload, you open one of the files, it would show everything that you drew in the order that you drew it. So you imagine the time lapses that I do right now where I'm drawing on things, right? Adding different strokes and lines and colors and that sort of thing. Well, back then, it would automatically show you this rapid time lapse of it loading. And that was just the loading process. So in doing that, I actually realized that I could make a flip animation, a flip page animation, whatever it's called. So I would cover the next piece of motion I wanted with either white, solid white, or I would cover it with the other pieces, and I would actually animate things moving. I remember, in Independence Day was super popular. It had just come out, and so I took the back of the VHS. If anyone knows what a VHS is out there, the VHS box, and I looked at the image of the White House and the little laser beam coming from the spaceship and making it explode, and I actually animated that full explosion. And again, that's probably the main reason why I'm holding on to that old DOS computer, because I hope to be able to find it and show everyone someday that I started motion graphics back when I was like 9 or 10 on a DOS computer. It took me about 12 hours, I'm sure. And again, I think this is an old video game, very lesser known, balls in 3D, different figures and people in the shapes of balls. Oh, and of course, again, as creative as I could possibly be, showing the different details of Earthworm Jim. Super excited back in the day to know someone who had this game. Again, I would primarily just watch other people play it, and then to hear from my cousin who worked at a news station that there was an Earthworm Jim television show coming out, which I was super stoked about. And I actually had the poster showing all the new WB cartoons coming out in the future before anyone else had it up in my room. It's really exciting. But I mean, it's pretty accurate to the character, doesn't it? Yeah, pretty computer art. So that's my past artwork in the digital world of DOS computers. Hope you enjoyed it.